What are some common forms of sexism that men face? The employee bathrooms at my job have been scheduled for an update. The work on the men's room started a week or two ago Monday and ended this past Monday morning, during which time the men had to use the public customer bathroom and the women continued to use their employee bathroom. On Monday afternoon, when the work began on the women's room, the newly refurbished, as yet unused by a single man, men's room became a temporary women's bathroom until the work on the new women's bathroom is finished. So the men have to go several weeks without an employee bathroom, while the women never have to go a single day without one. Not exactly common, but it otherwise fits the question and is currently on my mind. Sort of similar. The girls' bathrooms at my school apparently have mirrors, locks on the bathroom stalls, and soap dispensers. Guess what the guys have? This is one my mother does to my brother and I. She says my brother and I have to keep our doors open at all times, unlike our sister who doesn't have to. When we ask why she says this, your sister is a girl and girls need privacy, guys don't. I'm pretty sure I deserve a bit of privacy too, mom. You should start furiously masturbating anytime she goes by your room. After a while I am sure she'll let you have your door closed. When I was 19 years old I worked for Boys and Girls Club. It was an elementary level club. I was the only male staff there, so the little kids there would always call me big brother and run up and hug me. The director there called me into the office and asked me not to let the kids hug me. I said the other female staff members would hug the kids all the time, and even in front of their parents as they would leave the club for the day. The director told me it's a different perspective when a male staff member hugs the kids rather than the female staff. WTF. So do people view all males as these sexual predators or something? The day the director told me that I felt sad because it made me feel like I was some type of pedo or something like that. I'm a male nurse in the ER and there are a lot of extra rules I have to follow that the females do not. If I am doing any kind of perineal care, Foley, straight cath, pelvic, or even rectal temp on a female patient, I need a female chaperone. However, a female nurse can go do those same procedures on a male without a male chaperone. The looks I get from many elderly patients when I tell them I'm their nurse. Those judging eyes. I had a guy straight up laugh in my face and tell me my parents must be embarrassed by me. What the frick? Mothers freak out when I'm the nurse for their child. I had a lady straight up tell me I couldn't help drain her daughter's armpit abscess because she thought I'd be eyeballing her. No, literally none of this happens to the female staff members. And, frankly, I am a much better nurse than quite a few of them. My wife and I decided to hire a male nanny. This decision causes me, my wife and the male nanny to experience a whole range of uncomfortable situations. Because we live the Pacific Northwest, a lot of people assume we're a polyamorous couple. We're not. Some people assume that me and the male nanny are a gay couple and my wife was our surrogate. On the first day of school, for example, my daughter's teacher introduced us as her daddies, even though she had met with my wife on multiple occasions beforehand. Others just can't wrap their head around the fact that a man might want to work in childcare. I can't tell you how many warnings we've received, even from within our own families, that we have to watch him closely because it's not natural for a man to want to work in childcare. He must be a pedophile. When it comes to raising children, men still face an enormous amount of sexism from all sides. It's funny that they accept a gay couple or polyamorous couple easier than the idea of a male nanny. The double standard. I remember watching a clip from The View. I don't remember too many of the specifics, but the topic of conversation was that a woman, who had become fed up with her husband and his actions, had proceeded to cut his dong off in the middle of the night and thrown it into the trash compactor, or something like that. Again, details are fuzzy. One of the ladies might have been Sharon Osbourne talked about how heck hath no fury or he shouldn't have been messing around and the crowd went wild. Most of the women in the audience and on the panel were clapping and whooping it up. Then, one lone female member of the panel, I wish I could remember who it was, it took quality courage, spoke up and said that them all laughing about this wasn't right. In fact, it was quite wrong. She pointed out how differently the panel and audience would have reacted if the situation had been a man who had cut his wife's breast off and thrown it in the dishwasher. Regardless of what actions they were upset with or felt grieved, the idea of mutilating your spouse shouldn't be met with laughter and applause. From what I remember, some of the other ladies on the panel tried to say, "That's different," and others rolled their eyes or became uncomfortable. I remember thinking what courage it must have taken to call out the double standard right then and there, on television, with the studio audience clearly already on the side of the original joke. It shouldn't matter what your gender is. Call out double standards when confronted with them. I was stalked by an ex. Everyone was like, "You must have given it to her good, LOL. To top it off, I was treated like the criminal every time I called the cops. When I went to file for a restraining order, I had to ask 3 times because they kept referring me to a courtroom assuming I had been served. And the icing, the judge I finally got treated me like I was Winnie Baby and gutted the restraining order. I'm still convinced the only reason I got it at all was I had my family there for support. TLDR, domestic court system is biased against men start to finish. I witnessed this happen to a really good friend of mine and I hated it. Every time that girl got close, I would be sure to keep her away from him as much as possible. He worked as an RA in college with me and at one point called the cops on her because she kept stalking him and breaking in to prevent him from having any relationship with any person that was a girl. My husband, a father of 4 girls, regularly gets security called on him if he is seen taking his daughters to the bathroom alone. It has gotten to the point where he won't go out with the little ones without me with him. That sucks. I'm a single dad. I take her into the guy's bathroom with me when it has to happen and cannot wait. When a guy or security says something, it's usually greeted by another guy saying, "Hey, he's letting his kid take a pee. Back off." There's kind of a social stigma that men can't talk about how they're feeling. This is probably why suicide statistics with men are stupidly high. I've just recently noticed something that bugs me a bit. I grew a beard throughout October to December. My girlfriend and all the women on her side of the family were quick to offer their criticism. I didn't really care too much and took it lightly. But after a while I couldn't help but imagine what it would be like if the tables were turned. Like if my GF started wearing a shirt she just bought and really loves, but my brother, dad, and myself criticized it every time she wore it. That would be fricked and people would take her side immediately. Talk crap about my choice to grow a bit of facial hair. No one bats an eye. Flying by myself, and as I was walking toward my seat, I'm a woman. The air hostess loudly asked if I would swap seats with a guy around the same age as me, early 20s, because we can't have single men sit next to unaccompanied minors. Guy looked super nice, but I will always remember how embarrassed he looked as we shuffled past each other to swap seats with everyone staring. I wish I had more confidence at the time to say something to the airline. Someone almost called the police on me for going to my little sister's softball game. I'm a 24-year-old male. She's 8. I hugged my sister and said good job. Woman yells and pushes me away. Pulls out phone to dial 911. Luckily my mom was there. My mother has swore at a nun and got me an A for accidental plagiarism. After a yelling match, I got away with the crime of hugging my sister. I don't even go to her school functions because of this problem, which makes her suffer as my sister wants me to go. The whole dad is the irresponsible, clueless parent thing we see in advertisements and such. The fact is, the majority of fathers are just as good as the majority of mothers. Mothers are just as capable of being crappy parents too. Stop teaching kids that dad doesn't know crap. When they are victims of sexual abuse or domestic abuse, it often isn't taken as seriously as when women report their experiences. Young men in every society are viewed as infinitely disposable. They are cannon fodder. Everyone shoots themselves when female civilians are victims of a battle in war. No one gives 2 shoots about the young male soldiers, most of which were either conscripts or forced into the military due to lack of opportunity. Civilians equals women and children. I was pretty much raised by my mother and older sister. It was very common for them to use sentences that started with real men. I figured out that it was a means of bullying and manipulation because how they directed it at me. When I'd get bullied to tears, I'd be told real men don't cry when they wanted to take something from me. They'd say a real man gives anything to a woman. when I was asked to do something that required a lot of strength and I struggled. I was told a real man could do it, so on, so forth. It really sucked. My mother has a lot more respect for me now. I still get the real men spiel from my sister when she wants something and doesn't want to ask respectfully. I'm normally very calm and pacifistic by nature, but those two words directed at me negatively makes me irrationally angry. Sounds rational to me. Tell her. If a man is in an abusive relationship with a woman, and she attacks him, when the cops are called the man still gets arrested. That rape on males is not taken seriously at all. Few nights ago I was at a work party and one of my female work colleagues kept joking about how she wanted to rape me and no one bats an eyelid. It was so surreal. If it was reversed I would have lost my job. Getting crap for being teachers because men and kids equals he's a pedo. At least that's the one off the top of my head that pisses me off the most. My abusers were female. I started doing a lot better in school once I had male teachers around. I've always felt safer with men. AWW, look, dad's babysitting today. Freaking no. He is parenting like he's supposed to. Stop flapping your dentures, grandma. Father stays home. Kids while mother works. She must have his nuts in a bag in the freezer. Or maybe he's just too dumb to get a decent job and his wife has to take care of all of them. Granted, I know one family where that's the case. He's too mentally ill to work in most environments. So she teaches and he stays home. Their kids. But that's not the norm in the Mr. Mom situations I've seen. If a guy forces himself on a girl who doesn't want to make out with him, it's assault. If a girl forces herself on a guy and he doesn't want to make out with her, he's mocked for being queer or frigid and no one thinks that men can feel violated too. Me. Starts friendly conversation with girl I wouldn't be even remotely interested in even if I was single. Snobby stuck up girl. No. I have a boyfriend. Goes over to friends. OMG, guys are such creeps. Every guy has experienced this at one point or another. Since when did being polite and friendly to a female because you're a happy and decent person make you a freaking sexual predator in America? Don't flatter yourself, I'm just making conversation. Usually they realize they look like idiots when you drop something like that on them. A group of women get together for a girls' night out and behave in such a lewd and overtly sexual manner towards men. They can do and say nasty sexual stuff to guys because, hey, it's ladies' night and the guys love it. We're just drinking wine and kicking back because being a mom is hard work all week. So come on over here and let me grab your butt and catcall you from across the street. If a group of men did this to women, it would be predatory and harassing behavior. I'm disgusted by women who do this. Whether it's a thread about what gay people hate the most at their bars or who bartenders can't stand the most, the answer is always, without failure, bachelorette parties. Some men are seen as creeps simply for existing and not being typically good looking. See that overweight guy with the ponytail? No, he's most likely not going to rape you or molest your kids. He is just trying to get on with his day. Leave him the frick alone. Can confirm. My overweight ponytail sporting neighbor just wants to hang frozen pizza boxes to his wall and play Starship Munchkin. Took my, at the time, 7-year-old niece to a park near our house. My sister lives with me and my niece's dad is dumb as heck and thankfully not around. But I'm at the park. My niece runs up to me, sits in my lap so she can catch her breath, and a lady apparently called the cops. Before they arrived, a few women came up and tried to take her away from me, because I was clearly a molester. And I do mean take. They grabbed her arm and pulled her away, or tried to until I grabbed the lady. I'm not going to pull my niece in a tug of war. I had to get much more violent than I prefer, but I grabbed her wrist and squeezed her pressure points until she let go and took a few steps back. When the police arrived, the women, a handful of them by now, accused me of trying to kidnap my niece and assaulting a mom who was just looking out for the girl and trying to save her. Even after telling the police that it was my niece and I only grabbed the woman because she tried to take my niece away from me forcefully, the police wanted to separate my niece and I and let one of the women take care of her. I had to threaten the police so they wouldn't give my niece to a complete stranger. Mind you, this entire time my niece is saying that's my uncle. I live with him and he's taking care of me. I don't know any of these mean ladies. Let me see my uncle. To shorten the rest of the story, just before I was arrested my sister drove by, saw the cops and panicked, and ran over. She showed it and everything and everyone immediately accepted that she was the mom, which while good pee me off a bit, and after confirming with the police department dispatch that the police just tried to kidnap my niece they let me go without any charges, despite the woman wanting to press charges for assault. She decided against it when the new cops that arrived told her that she should drop it and hope that I didn't sue her for attempted kidnapping, slander, assault of a minor and something else I can't remember right now. But yay, a nice day in the park turns into a police drama with risk of jail time for no reason other than I'm a guy. I'll begin by saying this actually happened to me. Anytime a woman claims any form of sexual harassment, the man is automatically guilty and forced to try to prove his innocence, because the company doesn't want a lawsuit. I literally had a female subordinate give me a hug because I let her off early to go to a family function. I came to work the next day and was immediately sent to the boss's boss where I was advised that I was being put on unpaid leave during a sexual harassment investigation. As it turned out, the entire thing was right under a camera, so you could clearly see her hug me. Even so, I was told that she said I told her to hug me before she got to leave, and then I got fired. Lawyer up. Your word against hers. Sounds like an unlawful firing to me. I'm no expert though, so I could be wrong. Unless this happened a long time ago. If so, sorry, that sucks. As a man, 90% of the people who have told me what a real man is are women. Why should they be able to say that? Imagine me going around telling women what a real woman acts like and expecting them to comply to my standards. That's obviously not okay. Let women figure out what it means to be a woman and let men figure out what it means to be men. We must be swift as the coursing river. Yesterday my male friend got groped in public at a party and nobody said anything. If he were female some crap would have gone down. You can't talk about men's issues. There are a number of things that disproportionately affect men. Men are much more likely to commit suicide, or die from cancer, or be the victim of violence, yet nobody talks about these things in the way we talk about domestic violence, or breast cancer awareness, or women's rights. One MP raised the issue in Parliament and was laughed at. Divorce settlements. Typically, men are the ones to lose child custody, their houses and pay alimony checks. It's extremely one-sided in favor of women. Plus, 40% of domestic abuse victims are men. And yet, compared to the hundreds of women's abuse shelters in America, there are only a few men's shelters if any. And when anyone tries to make one, it gets laughed at and ignored, and in some cases, those who want to build one gets bullied out of it. One case of which caused a man to commit suicide. Then there's the recent experimental drug for men, in which testing was stopped. Media claimed it was because men couldn't handle menstrual symptoms. Turns out it was because this drug was making men sterile, but that was completely ignored and glossed over. Are you babysitting today? Number. I'm not. I'm never babysitting. I'm being a father to the daughter I've wanted since I was a child myself. I'm taking care of the most important person in my life. I'm not a babysitter. Seriously, that question infuriates me more than any other. The implication that fathers are somehow, or worse, should be, absent from parenting is horrible and problematic for both genders. I'm a female, but I notice they are expected to be the ones to hit on the girl and make all the moves. It's stupid. That's why I make all the first moves. I do this too, and wow, does it help. The smiles I get from something as simple as if you ever decide we should get pizza and a beer, I'm down, really brings home how tough the pressure is. If a man and a woman have intoxicated sex, it is the man who failed to get the consent of the woman and so therefore he raped her. The stupid idea that if both parties are intoxicated and have sex, the male is still at fault. I took my 4-year-old daughter to a movie a couple weeks back. There was a lady that was kind of following a little ways behind. Figured okay, she probably just bought tickets to the same movie. When we left the movie she was still following, except this time on the phone. As we were walking towards my car she ran up in front of us and stopped us, saying some not awesome things about me being a pedo and that the police were on the way. Long story short, Cops showed up, saw what was really going on and reprimanded the woman pretty severely. The crappy thing about this was it was the first time after my wife had left me that I had been comfortable taking my daughter out by myself, and I'm still fairly hesitant about taking her out. Getting better though. It's a subtle form of sexism, but women are constantly surprised when men can cook, clean, iron, and dress nicely without assistance. Why wouldn't I be able to take care of myself? Freaking suicide. You want to raise awareness for suicide and mental illness? Yeah, fill your boots. But it gets on my freaking tea when it's all directed towards the struggles women have regarding mental health and suicidal ideation. But the male gender is chastised for anything regarding suicide or mental health. The notion of a man to be a strong and mentally powerful individual is a crock of crap. It doesn't define a man. How he deals with it is how it defines him. I once got told you can't teach. You're male. You'll be harsh. No one likes male teachers. I went home early that day and sat on my couch drinking liquor, going, do they like me? I don't get people like this. All my favorite teachers were male, because they weren't harsh. A similar thing happened about 2 weeks ago at the mall. Little girl was lost. My 6-year-old son was using the bathroom. I was standing outside waiting. I asked her if she wanted help, and told her to wait with me till he came out so I could take her to the security desk. While waiting, the mother comes storming down with security screaming her head off trying to yell at me. I told her to calm down, but I was clearly annoyed with her. The security guard was a man. He wasn't making any assumptions. He asked what is going on and I told him. The woman was still loony and accused me of trying to steal her kid. I started laughing when my son came out and found out the girl is in his class. I warned the woman to watch what she says to me. If we ever cross paths again, I would press charges. I don't let things slide, and this is slander with intent to defraud where I am from. You can all live in fear. Have fun with that. I fight back. On behalf of males, thank you. In my own case, being trusted less than everyone else as a minority of guys in a primarily female workplace, simply due to our gender. It has taken years of me having to aggressively call people out about it in order to get treated fairly. Can't believe this hasn't been mentioned, but is the most flat out one in my opinion. Being told at a club or bar, women get in free, men pay $20 cover. Who do you think is going to buy the majority of the drinks when we're there? I'm also with my wife, so I'm not paying to meet other girls. Infuriates me. They do this because they want more girls to go to their bar. More girls in the bar means more guys paying the cover fee, means more money for them. I think this is a case where you need to vote with your wallet. I absolutely refuse to patronize any establishment with such policies. If enough men refuse to pay these places, they would implement a more equitable pricing structure. Mansplaining, manspreading, and all that other BuzzFeed bulls. I mean, I'm not even discussing if these are things, but if I started calling nagging womanagging or something, there would be such outrage. Or how about the articles around Olympics which athletes had the nicest bulges in their swimsuits? And the very same news outlet released an article about how men should stop objectifying women a day later. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.